The old folk tales spoke of whispering trees and shifting paths. They told of a forest where magic lingered, both alluring and deadly. Thomas, a man driven by an insatiable curiosity, had heard these tales since childhood. He dismissed them as mere stories, figments of imagination, yet the forest's allure was a siren song he couldn't resist. One crisp autumn afternoon, Thomas found himself at the forest's edge. A weathered sign warned of danger, its message nearly erased by time and weather. He scoffed at the sign, his heart pounding with a thrill of defiance. The air grew heavy as he stepped across the threshold, leaves crunching beneath his feet. Shadows danced in the fading light, playing tricks on his eyes. The whispers began as a low murmur, carried on the wind. At first, Thomas dismissed them as rustling leaves, yet, as he ventured deeper, the whispers grew louder, more distinct. They seemed to emanate from the trees themselves, whispering secrets in an unknown tongue. A shiver ran down Thomas's spine, a mixture of fear and exhilaration. He was in too deep to turn back now. The path, barely visible beneath a carpet of fallen leaves, led Thomas deeper into the heart of the forest. The sun began its descent, casting long, eerie shadows that twisted familiar shapes into menacing forms. Just as anxiety threatened to overwhelm him, he saw a light flickering through the trees. With renewed determination, Thomas pushed forward, emerging into a small clearing. In the center, a fire crackled merrily, casting a warm glow on the surrounding trees. Seated by the fire was an old woman, her face etched with age and wisdom. She looked up as Thomas approached, her piercing blue eyes seeming to see right through him. "Lost, are you?" she asked, her voice raspy but strangely soothing. Thomas hesitated, unsure how to respond. "I'm seeking," he finally admitted, "seeking something extraordinary." The old woman smiled, a knowing glint in her eye. She gestured to a plate beside her, piled high with steaming cakes. "Perhaps this will satisfy your curiosity," she offered. The aroma wafting from the cakes was intoxicating, a blend of spices and sweetness that made his mouth water. Hunger gnawed at his stomach, urging him to accept. He reached out, his fingers brushing against the old woman's gnarled hand as he took a cake. "Thank you," he mumbled, his mouth already full of the delicious pastry. The world around Thomas shimmered and swirled as he swallowed the last bite. The forest floor seemed to rise up to meet him, and the old woman's laughter echoed in his ears. He stumbled, his legs feeling like lead, and collapsed onto the soft earth. Panic surged through him as he realized something was terribly wrong. His senses, once so familiar, were heightened, distorted. The scent of pine needles was overpowering, the forest floor prickly and rough against his skin. When he tried to call out, he found he couldn't speak. A strangled whimper escaped his lips instead, filled with a terror he couldn't articulate. Looking down, he saw the impossible. His hands, once strong and calloused, were now the delicate hooves of a stag. His body, once lean and muscular, was covered in a coat of reddish-brown fur. He was no longer Thomas, the curious explorer. He was a creature of the forest, trapped in a form he didn't understand. The old woman stood over him, her laughter echoing through the trees. "Curiosity, they say, killed the cat," she cackled, her voice dripping with malice. "But in your case, dear Thomas, it has merely changed your stripes." Section 4. A glimmer in the green. Days turned into nights, the world a blur of scents and sounds. Thomas, trapped in his stag form, wandered the forest in a daze of confusion and fear. He learned to navigate the undergrowth, to forage for food alongside other deer, but the human part of him yearned for release. One evening, as the sun cast long shadows through the trees, he stumbled upon a clearing bathed in an ethereal light. Tiny figures flitted amongst the flowers, their laughter like the tinkling of bells. They were fairies, their wings shimmering with an iridescent glow. As he cautiously approached, a figure stepped forward, taller and more regal than the others. It was an elf, his eyes filled with ancient wisdom. Thomas, unable to speak, could only stare, hope flickering in his heart. Perhaps this creature, this being of magic, could help him break the witch's curse. He lowered his head in supplication, the movement clumsy. The elf regarded him with a mixture of curiosity and pity. "You have tasted of the forest's magic," the elf said, his voice a melodious whisper. "And in doing so, you have become bound to it." Section 5. The Pact of the Forest. The elf explained that the forest's magic was a force of balance. For every gift it bestowed, it demanded a price. The witch, a guardian of this equilibrium, ensured that those who dared to exploit the forest's power paid the consequences. Thomas, in his relentless pursuit of the extraordinary, had upset this balance. The witch's curse is not a punishment, the elf explained, but a transformation. You sought the extraordinary, and the forest has granted your wish. You now experience the world through the senses of one of its creatures. Thomas, desperate to return to his human form, pleaded with the elf for help. The elf listened patiently, his expression grave. There is a way, he finally conceded, but it is fraught with danger. He spoke of a hidden grove deep within the forest where a spring of pure moonlight flowed. The water of this spring holds potent magic, he explained. But to reach it, you must face the guardians of the forest and prove your worth.